Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is Transfers Live. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and a very happy Joe Smith. Happier than last night, anyway,
Happier
mate.
than Larry, that's for sure.
Happier than Larry. Yes, as always, we're going through all the latest transfer news for Manchester United and what's going on this evening. And the latest sort of news story doing the rounds is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer,
Manchester United manager,
Famous. Good point, yes, has spoken to Jadon Sancho personally about his transfer to Manchester United. Now, this came out this afternoon. This is by Fredrik A. Filtvedt. This guy, right?
I think you've smashed that.
I think I've got that pronunciation spot on.
Yeah.
Now, this is a guy that's on Twitter. He's quite prominent, and a lot of people sort of claim or say that he's almost like Ole's mouthpiece. That's what I've seen a few people.
The Ole equivalent of Duncan
Castles and Jose Mourinho. Yeah,
that's what we're hearing.
That's like the analogy that everyone likes. And he's saying that they've had a chat, and he's sort of told Jadon Sancho about his keenness to sign him. First of all, what do you make of that? Do you think that that's a good idea? Is that okay if it's true? Which
I think it's
we assume it is.
I mean, is that not like tapping up?
This is what I mean. Like, if you're going to go and like ring up a player that doesn't belong to you and go, "Don't worry about it, son."
But then you always hear, after transfers are done, you hear the players coming out saying, "Do you know what did it for me? The manager rang me and told me where I fit in the system, where I fit in the team, so I signed." So people admit to tapping up retroactively all the time. Is it assuming that you're not meant to be able to ring a player of another team unless I think that the club has given permission to do so. So maybe the club has given permission to do so. In terms of the validity or whether this is true, he's putting a lot on the line, isn't he? Acting like he knows. So obviously he thinks he's been ringing Solskjaer as well, presumably. So Solskjaer rang Sancho, then he rang old Freddie Filters, and he was like, "Mate, you never guess who I've just been on the blower to. Only Jadon Sancho himself. Can I tweet it? Of course you bloody can." Like, that must have been what's happened tonight.
Speakerphone, he might
Imagine,
say, listen,
group
don't
call,
say anything
group
yet.
Zoom.
Don't let him on that you're in on this.
I'm BCCing you into the email to Jadon Sancho.
Keep it to yourself and your 10,000 followers.
I wonder if he'll do that at some point, like BCC but for FaceTime, so you can have a third person watching, FBI style, but the person who you're calling doesn't know they're there. That seems illegal.
It does seem a bit shady.
But back to this. I assume that Solskjaer is speaking to Sancho, or that some sort of contact is being made. Obviously, it's big news if it's true and it's happened today.
Yeah.
But you would hope that, again, we've said most of the summer, Dortmund are willing to sell Sancho. Manchester United do want Sancho. Jadon Sancho does want to come. Those three things seem to be without doubt at this point.
Yeah,
so
I think that's no one's claiming anything different.
No. So if all of those things are true,
can we have a comment?
Then it would make sense to me that he is in contact with Jadon Sancho, sort of talking him through the situation, and you would hope that Sancho isn't being left in the dark in these negotiations, since he is a major part in them. We always assume that the player is some sort of passive force that's sat there going, "Oh, have you bought me yet?" When, hopefully United are speaking to Sancho with the sort of agreement of Dortmund, and they're sort of saying, "We're trying here, don't worry, you're part of the plans, we think this is going to get done," all that sort of thing, which is supposedly what's been said.
Sorry, there was a comment highlighted then that Cam just highlighted that said, I saw Jay in Tesco's in Ireland the other day. You might have done.
You're wearing very new jeans. Very poetry there. I saw you outside a Quick Fit, Alan. Goodbye.
Man of the people, mate. Juan Silva says Sancho deal is over! Exclamation mark. Well, several exclamation marks.
Wow.
Joe, how over is it?
I think it's only as over as the United fan base is annoyed, which is, we are quite annoyed. So it seems like, there's some people who not only think this deal isn't going to happen based on the evidence we've seen from the clubs, but also who have got to the point where they just think, I don't even care anymore, I don't want this to happen, it's a distraction, which, for me, this isn't our deal, is it? I know as much as the fans of the club and we're an important part of it, but we don't do the transfers. And the fact that we've sort of, involved ourselves so much in transfers down the years, we've got people and journalists and videos like this that are just completely dedicated to transfers. It's such a huge part of football. But really, we don't do the negotiations. And if it was all private and done behind closed doors, you might just see on October the 1st, Jadon Sancho signed and we'd all be happy. Because we know it's been going on for so long, we know that he wants to join, there's so much information that's come out, it almost seems like a failure that he hasn't signed already. But I think if you sign him at any time, it's still a success, personally.
No, I agree, and let's not forget, some of our best ever signings have come after, the summer, if you will. You look at Eric Cantona, I remember him playing for Leeds against us in the August, and we signed him in the September or at the end of August, or whatever it was. Someone, I think it was that United family, Carl Hallow, was saying about sacking the transfer window off. I think it works, transfer window. I think it just does send everyone a little bit crazy, and people do get frustrated, we do get annoyed. And the frustrating thing about this one is, almost since day one, we've known our target, we've known the price, we've known he wants to come, and yet we just haven't been able to make it happen. We haven't been able to. Yeah, exactly. And we've had this sort of thing of we're going to give it this amount of money, we're going to pay it in instalments. None of that is going to work, and it's just been frustrating from a fan's point of view, especially when you see what some of our rivals are doing. Last night, half our show was dedicated to Tottenham signings, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, not on purpose, but because...
because they were linked to United.
They linked to United, and they end up going, it looks like they're on the way to Spurs. Reguilon, I think, is more or less a done deal.
And Bale's agents come out and said that he wants to go back to Spurs. That looks like it's happening, doesn't it? Jose's again come out today and said, I've always liked Bale, I tried to sign him at Madrid, so that deal is certainly being worked on there.
There's still a bit to go there, though, I think, with the wages and everything. I think people are a bit upset with that. I mean, let's not forget, someone pointed out, I know it's not the same, it's not connected, but Spurs at first were going to furlough a lot of staff, weren't they? We're going to do that, and then they changed their mind, and it's like,
can you believe that?
I know, and then we're like,
looking back
actually,
now,
we've got loads of money to pay Gareth Bale, so we don't,
horrific that, wasn't it? It almost looks even worse now, looking back, that Tottenham and Liverpool tried doing that.
Liverpool gets to me. I know what made it about Liverpool and everyone is like, but a club with supposed socialist values doing something like that. That's another story anyway. And I'm not going to have an argument about owners because ours are the worst in the world. There was a thing of Romano there. Bring that up again. Sorry, Cam, that you had up. Someone's just said, Ross Murphy, good to see you again, Ross. He's always getting involved in the chat. He says, just pay the money. I think everyone would agree with that now. I think most people, well, not everyone, some people may disagree. You can see the graphic on the screen there. It says, Jadon Sancho had direct contact with Borussia Dortmund's board last week and told them he wouldn't go on strike, but that he would be happy to join Manchester United if they sell him. Now, that's from Romano on his Here We Go podcast. But that could have been from a month ago.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking Romano for saying that because it is like, what people need to know and what's going on.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this a little while ago, weren't we, that Jadon Sancho had made it pretty clear he wasn't going to go on strike.
No.
And I was quite happy about that because I thought, even though I want him to come, I don't want a player who...
Yeah, throws his toes out the pram.
So signs a contract and then because he signed an extension in it. And then a year later he's like, right, if I don't get my own way, then I'm going on strike. I don't think you should...
No, we can't have that.
I think you should do that. Someone says, Andrew Riley says, you two guys together is brilliant. Love watching you. Huge respect, Riley from Dublin.
Cheers, Riley. Andrew. I call you Riley's surname, like a teacher doing the register. Riley. Yes, sir. Yeah, carry on.
What else have we got?
David Ornstein speaking on the TIFO podcast. He has said, United will keep pushing for Jadon Sancho until the very end of the transfer window, hoping that Borussia Dortmund relent.
Right, good. I want to get into this.
Yeah, I want to get into this as well. First of all, do you expect them to relent? Do you think that, have we seen, Stephen mentioned it on his video today, we don't seem to have seen a track record of teams bowing to our offers and demands, do we? We seem to have a track record of us bowing to their demands further down the line toward the end of the transfer window, like David Ornstein is alluding to there. In your head, what gives United the confidence and the sheer gall to think that they're going to be the ones that change their mind on this when we have such a track record of doing so?
No, you're right. You make a good point. I mean, logic would say nothing.
No.
Because, you look at it over recent history, I think, going back a little bit further, Juve wanted 89 million for Pogba.
Yeah.
They got it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Even like Shakhtar and Fred. Looking back, 50 million.
Yeah.
More than we paid for Bruno.
They
for
wanted
Fred.
it. They got it. Yeah, every sort of signing where we've gone out and bought them, we've pretty much paid what they wanted, even some more recently. And Dan James is a great example because Dan James was a bargain at 15 million rising up to 18 million. But let's not forget, 5 months before we bought him, Leeds had a bid of 4.5 million accepted. And he didn't have the most amazing 6 months between them.
Yeah, it's not like he got 20 goals
he
in the
didn't.
time.
It was just a case of, it's United.
Yeah.
Oh, and United were like, okay then, because it's still relatively cheap for what we pay. Wan-Bissaka, Palace set their stall out early doors. We want 50 million quid for him. Yeah. And what did they get? 50 million.
The full 50, Jay.
What did Leicester get when they said we want 80 million plus a £5 million add-on?
The full 80 plus another 5. That's what they got. Yeah, we do tend to do that, don't we?
So, and then, on the flip side of that coin, like you mentioned, Borussia Dortmund. Now, classically, historically, they are a selling club. But this isn't the Borussia Dortmund of like Kagawa and Mkhitaryan times and even Aubameyang times where it's like, okay, you know, you make a relatively decent bid, you get him. They're a well-run club. They've got sort of they've got the ability to dig their heels in. Do you know what I mean? And it's like they have pride as well, and I think that does play a little bit. People say, "Oh, money talks," but there is a little bit of a thing of like, you know, we're not just going to be taken to the cleaner. We're not going to have our pants pulled down on what is our prized asset. And you've got to remember that you're coming from a place now with Dortmund where, and we've spoke to several journalists of it, and we'll get into it in a minute about Christian Falk, who we spoke to today. But they've also said the same thing. You know, Bayern Munich have just won the Champions League. They've won 8 Bundesligas on the trot. You've got Uli Hoeneß, probably getting his name completely wrong on pronunciation, the ex-chief who was sort of saying a few weeks ago after they won the Champions League, you know, Dortmund is just a selling club. I don't understand why they do that. They get these great players and they sell them. And it got to everyone at Dortmund because you're seeing your rivals winning everything. They're taking the mick out of you. And then you've got United, who you know have got money, regardless of this thing about the pandemic. Manchester United have got money. We know that. And they're saying, oh, you want 180 million? We'll give you 90. No. If you've got 90, you've got the other 18.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? All right, we'll give you 90 now and we'll give you 18 in a bit. No. You can give it us all now. And that's what, and maybe you could argue that is a little bit unreasonable in the current climate, but I get it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that this is the problem you've got. The thing you mentioned there with United have this track record of just paying what people want. Dortmund being a bit sort of the nose bent out of shape because they've got, seen the rivals doing so well, they're getting labelled this time, and they're not a selling club in the sense that they're desperate to get rid of players. And this guy's just signed a new deal as well.
Yeah, he's got 2 years left on his deal, hasn't he? So there's plenty of time for him. 3 years even, is it now? I can't remember.
2023, you're right, 3 years.
The suggestion that they need to sell, I don't necessarily agree with. One thing I would say potentially is, I do think they want to sell him. I think they know as well as anyone that as good as he looks, it only takes a ruptured Achilles tendon, a knee injury, a broken leg, a dislocated shoulder, or a grade 4 hamstring injury where you're out for 5 months. It doesn't take that much for any player's career at any time to be derailed. He's got 3 years left on his contract, which is good, and it gives them another year bargaining. But it's not 6 years left on his contract. No. It's not. There isn't this sort of infinite feel about his time at Dortmund. There does seem to be a finite end to it, whether it's this season or next season. I think that Dortmund are wise enough and are savvy enough to know that this is really the best season to get the most money for him. Because even though the pandemic will have continued, or it may have slowed down, or whatever the case may be next summer, I think you're going to be getting roughly the same amount for him. Because unless he gets 40 goals next season, you don't get much more than 120 million for anyone.
No.
Other than Mbappe and Neymar, I think are the only 2 players ever sold for more than that. So they're not going to get much more than they want for him now. And like I said, if he has a ruptured Achilles tendon in October, and they'll be lucky to get 70 million for him. So I do think they want to sell him, and I'm not saying that they'll drop their price, but I've seen crazier things happen than us paying, even just if the instalments are the way we want them, or we do pay 90 and then it's a further 30 in potential add-ons. I don't know. I'm not saying I wouldn't advise that. I agree with a lot of people at home where just pay the money. But I don't think it's impossible that they say, all right, we still want the 120 million, but we don't mind you doing 20 million add-ons like you wanted. I don't think that's an impossibility, especially toward the end of the transfer window, because he's had 2 brilliant seasons there at Dortmund. 15 assists, 15 goals the season before last, 20 goals, 20 assists last season. It doesn't get much better than that for a player of his age. So I think in terms of potential and value, he is at his peak at the moment. So I think, if I was Dortmund, you would be thinking, we'll keep hold of him, of course, because he's a great player, and the likelihood of one of these injuries, a career-changing injury, isn't very likely. But it's still possible, and the longer you hold on to these sorts of assets, the more, Ousmane Dembele, they sold him at the perfect time. In the 2 years since he's been at Barcelona, he's hardly played due to injury, or 3 years he's been there. He's hardly played due to injury, so they got rid of him at the right time for 120 million.
That's a great point.
I think at some point you do have to let these assets go.
Very well put. We will get onto a little bit of that later on as well. On the Facebook, we've got a poll. Now, we're going to get into this story a little bit more in detail in a bit, but basically United have been linked with a swap deal for Chris Smalling and Inter Milan, possibly João Mario, even Perisic, or Marcelo Brozovic.
Brozovic.
Yes. I can't pronounce anyone's name, not even Joe Smith. Sorry, Smith.
Schmidt.
Get involved in the poll.
When we're talking German football, it's Schmidt.
Who out of these would you prefer? Would you prefer Mario Perisic or Brozovic?
Yeah, get over to the Facebook and put your vote in there, and we'll get back to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into that. At the moment, there's no prizes for guessing who's winning Perisic by a country mile. Just getting back onto the YouTube comments as well. Don't forget as well, guys, to hit like.
Yes.
Give us a like there, and don't forget to subscribe as well. If you're not doing, let's just say someone there saying have to sack Ed and get a proper director of football.
That's not going to happen, is it?
No, we spoke about this a lot last night, so I don't want to go over and over it because everyone was really angry yesterday about the fact that, it looked like Bale and Reguilon, who had been linked with United, maybe not Bale as much, but certainly with Reguilon, the fact that we've been linked with him, we've been offered him, we weren't going to get him, people saying, well, if we had a director of football, we wouldn't have to put up with such nonsense. Yep, I completely agree with me and Joe were talking about, and director of football, would obviously help matters, especially if you got the right one in. Yeah. We've seen what it's had an effect on at other clubs, but, there's bigger problems than just director of football going on at Manchester United. With Jadon Sancho, we spoke to Christian Falk today. He came on the Tier 1 podcast. He was over in Bayern Munich's training ground.
That was a good location, wasn't it?
It was meant
proper flexing a little bit on the
He was
on
like,
the video
before you ask, Thiago is here.
Before you ask, I've just had a coffee with the boys.
I was just like,
hey lads, we're friends, aren't we?
Imagine doing that in Canada.
They always ignore me. It's a joke. It's a funny joke they like to do.
They pretend
proper playing the I'm mates with Bayern Munich card. Which, do you know what? Living up to the reputation of being a Tier 1 transfer journalist over there, isn't he?
He's like
literally like shouting.
Either that or it's the most amazing green screen I've ever seen it in my entire life.
You going to United, Thiago? I'll speak to him later anyway. He's always got my number if he needs me.
I will get to Thiago in a minute because he mentioned him. But on the Sancho front, he said there's still a chance of United signing Sancho. Yeah. He said that chance was getting smaller by the day. Ornstein, who we had a little graphic of him up, what he said before, he was saying that United are prepared to sort of push it towards the end of the transfer window.
Yep.
I mean, brinkmanship is the word I think that comes to mind there, that springs to mind. The problem with that is, and Christian Falk, I don't know why we've faced each other like having a game of chess.
Yeah. Some sort of buzz thing.
Our survey says...
Slatterly College Smith. Whatever that is, Slatterly College.
How many players that Manchester United were linked with did they not sign this summer?
500.
Oh, you've won.
Yeah.
He said that, obviously, it was getting the chances were dwindling as it went on and on and on. Ornstein saying that United are prepared to go to the sort of right to the wire. Now, it's fraught with problems, this, because one thing that Falk mentioned is that, if Dortmund got that money, 120 million or 120 million euros or 110 million pounds, whatever you want to call it, they could buy players that would make them competitive. It's not like they get that money and they drop off behind Bayern Munich even more if they invest it in the right way, because 110, 120 million, whatever, buys you at least 2 or 3 very good players.
Yeah.
And, Dortmund could strengthen sort of several key areas with that. But if you do play this game where you leave it until the last minute, they might look at it and go, it's no good for us having 120 million euros the day of the transfer deadline day when, our options are limited, or even, even when there's a week or whatever left to go with the transfer window, it makes it more difficult for them to get deals done. What do you make of that? What do you make of that brinkmanship idea that's been mooted about by Ornstein and maybe a couple of others?
I think there's definitely a point to it. Another point I would like to raise in the same vein is this. We talked about it last night, how, when you've signed a player or you've sold a player, Manchester United selling people, or you buy a player and then all of a sudden every club in Europe knows how much money you've got, how much you've just sold someone for. Oh, well, you want this player, it's going to cost you the same as what you sold the other guy for, even though they're not as good necessarily. So there may be a case to be made that Dortmund know that as soon as Sancho is sold, everyone in Europe knows they've got 120 million to spend. So the prices of the players who would have been 40 million for them to replace him are now 60, 65 million.
That's true.
There's maybe a case to be made that the longer Dortmund make this transfer seem like it's not going to happen, the cheaper they can get his replacement for. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? Because if they sell Sancho tomorrow and they go to Inter Milan and say, oh, we'd like Perisic off you, then they're going to go, well, we want 35 million from them because we know, he's only worth 12 million, but we know you've got loads of money. Yeah. So maybe, the longer that Dortmund make this seem like it's not going to happen, the better chance they've got of signing his replacement for a cheaper fee. I'm not saying that is happening, but we've certainly seen it where players, look at Liverpool signing Andy Carroll for 35 million because everyone knew they had. Was it Torres that they just
Torres
sold?
for 50 million went to Chelsea, didn't he?
So,
and it was burning a hole in the back pocket, and they were almost saying, "Oh, we've done that because we've got this money for Carroll." It's still money.
Yeah,
still money you could have spent a lot more wisely than spending 35 million quid on a player that scored about 10 goals for you.
Yeah, and if they'd have tried to sign Andy Carroll at the start of the window, he probably would have been about 16 million.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Dortmund are holding on, but I don't think I don't think it helps Dortmund in any way to look as though they're rolling over for this deal. So I'm not surprised that it seems like I'm sure. I mean, the fact that it's dragging on, it's just poor from United. But the fact that it always seems as though it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, and yet we've got all of these reliable journalists saying it still could happen. Like the chances are shorter, but it still could happen. No one's ruling this deal out, are they?
No.
I think that it doesn't benefit Dortmund for them to be like, we're trying to make a deal happen. They're never going to say that because it makes them look weak.
Andrew Knabel, it says, except Dortmund have Reina, Bellingham and Reina on loan. They already have his replacement. It's not quite the same though. I think if Jadon Sancho is special, and I like the likes of Bellingham and others you mentioned, but if you're going to get 110 million quid, they're going to reinvest that. And I think they would. I think Dortmund would be a team that say, okay, let's use this now, so let's get closer to Bayern Munich rather than further away from them. So I think there's a sort of valid point in where you're coming from, Joe, there with the sort of the issues that brings when you do it sort of late. Capil on the super chat says same thing Barca had to do with Dembele with the Neymar money.
Maybe, yeah. They ended up spending more on him than they wanted to because they'd sold Neymar. Yeah, we've seen that loads of times, haven't we, where you've got loads of money, so he just happens to cost how much you sold the other bloke for.
Yeah, Ross Murphy says not only we can't sign players, but we can't sell our players when it's going to end.
Yeah.
A lot of doom and gloom. It's not. I get where you're coming from because we do have these players on the books we're trying to get rid of. But don't forget, we were speaking about this last night a little bit. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got rid of a lot of players. And the most difficult one to get rid of in terms of his wages and just getting him off the books was Alexis Sanchez. We did that. Lukaku, I don't think was that difficult to get rid of because he's always going to score you goals. Yeah. Even if you're not a massive Lukaku fan, I wasn't his biggest fan, but he's at least a sort of at worst 1 in 3 goal scorer, and at best a little bit better than that. And he's gone to Inter and obviously done what he's done all his career, which is get goals. So it wasn't too difficult to get rid of him. But some of the other players, we've seen them. We're going to get to Chris Moore a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Rojo.
Young, Darmian, other players that have gone.
I know some of them went out on loan, but others on a permanent move. It needed to be done. He came in straight away, he got rid of Fellaini. The only one he probably got rid of that he it sounded like he didn't want to get rid of was Ander Herrera. Yeah. But I think that he'd been left so long with a contract and PSG offered Herrera such a good deal that United weren't willing to match. That was one of those things. We've still obviously got a bit of way to go when it comes to clearing out some of the players. We know that Diogo Dalot looks like he's surplus to requirements, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting Fosu Mensah played ahead of you, and no offence to Fosu Mensah, but someone who's not played for United for 3 years, being played over supposedly one of the best up-and-coming right-backs in the world, it's clear that there's a hierarchy there that you wouldn't expect Dalot to be on unless he's leaving.
Nick Morris says, Inter want Smalling now. They do, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. We were just talking earlier about Christian Folk, and one thing he said about Thiago Alcantara, who is my favourite.
From Manchester, Jay?
He's my favourite player to say in my most broad Mancunian accent. Now, this has had a bit of a twist and turn to it in terms of speculation, what's going on. It looked like he was going to go to Liverpool, done deal, just won the Champions League. He says his goodbyes to everyone. This is what Folk was saying today. He did that last week. He was like, right,
and he heard it because he was at the training ground.
See you later, guys. I've loved my time here.
He's just said, bye-bye, guys.
8 titles on the trot, or whatever it is. Champions League.
That's what you say when you leave it.
Yeah.
See you later, guys. 8 titles on the trot.
Anyone
Champions League.
Just the 8 titles for me, then.
Just
Champions League winner.
Does he win titles? Yeah, he wins titles, yeah. Tell him, do I win titles?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I win titles.
Hey, told you.
Just the 8 titles for me last night, then. Sorry, carry on.
I hope someone watching gets these references, otherwise they're going to think, what the F are these two guys on about? So, says his goodbyes, he's off. Yeah. Looks like a no-brainer. 30 million euros for a 29-year-old who's obviously got some left in the tank, who's one of the best midfielders in his position on the planet, probably, you could argue.
Yep.
Wants to go Liverpool want him. What can go wrong? Well, the Scousers haven't got the cash, apparently. So that deal doesn't happen. Meanwhile, he's open to the idea of coming to United. He has been for the last 7.5 years since he's been linked with us. United are open to the idea of getting him, but the money is a sticking point. Liverpool remain favourites.
Yep.
But as Folk was saying today, it looks like Liverpool are going to have to sell Wijnaldum, or are going to sell Wijnaldum, to fund that move. Now, Wijnaldum looks like could be got to Barca, but Barca could have...
Barca apparently got to sell people to fund the Wijnaldum move.
Yeah,
according to
because
Koeman.
Koeman was saying today, wasn't he, about Memphis Depay, how he wants it.
Same thing.
But we got to sell players first. Now, you think, how can Barcelona be in that position? But then you remember that...
They've wasted 400 million quid in the last
3 years. Then you spent 140 million on Coutinho.
Yeah.
And, what was it, on Dembele?
120 Dembele, over 100 on... was it Griezmann who ended up being 145 or something ludicrous? Like they hid how much it was.
As well.
Oh no, that might have been Hazard actually. But yeah, they 3 players over 100 million trying to replace Neymar. None of them have done it in Griezmann, Dembele, and Coutinho. So
you had that
they're wasting money.
Picture, didn't you? Was it the quarters or the semis in the Champions League where it was like the players they bought? Like you had Coutinho playing against them.
Yeah.
And the other 2 £100 million players coming off the bench or whatever. It's just a mess. That club is in utter disarray.
They may be the only big club in Europe that is in more of a mess than United at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Theirs is like, they've been higher recently, of course, they won the league last season.
I mean, they've always got, well, I was about to say they've always got Messi, but they haven't always got him. What's that?
If fans go, will fans go bizarre, which I assume it means insane, if Ole's left out to dry? I think so. We're starting to see that already, aren't we, on social media, and we're seeing it more of a clamour for more protests and that kind of thing at Old Trafford.
Joe, right, I think that, but what happens is United lose against Palace.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah, and people turn on Ole.
Yeah,
not us, but they do. Like that whole blaming the owners and he's been hung out to dry stuff lasts for about 90 minutes.
Yeah, it lasts until the game start again.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, there is no on-the-pitch performances to be mad at. The only performances that we are seeing are the off-the-field performances, which are clearly not good enough. But as soon as there are on-the-pitch performances to blame and to criticise, and why did he pick him, and why is McTominay doing that, and why is Dan James doing this, like you said, it won't take long before it's Ole that's on the chopping block from the fans as well as, eventually the owners.
Look at last season, right, and we'll get to the comments in a minute.
Yeah.
But last season, you had week in, week out almost at one point where you had a midfield, and the players that Ole had to choose from in midfield were Jesse, Pereira, Fred. Even McTominay was injured for a spell. Yeah. It was literally like that was his midfield. Martial was out for a spell. So you had Marcus Rashford almost as his only striker.
Yeah.
Dan James playing off him or playing out wide. He was sort of, he had no options. Pogba was out for almost all the season. Martial went, obviously got his injured. Then Marcus gets injured. People were still blaming Ole.
Yeah.
No one was going, well, he hasn't really got much of a squad, and we need strengthening. And you look at all the injuries we got. It wasn't
saying,
like
well,
that.
why if you wanted a striker, why have you sold Lukaku? And Sanchez could do a job. He looks alright in Inter. Like that's what people were literally using those arguments against Ole. And like you said, it won't be too long before he got his man with Fernandes. What this team can't be.
That's the argument.
That's the one they always say. It doesn't matter how little the owners spent for Ole. This team should still be able to beat Newcastle.
That is the classic line. No matter what, a Manchester United team should always be able to beat Newcastle.
Have you not watched football before?
And yes, I get those performances. West Ham and Newcastle and Palace at home weren't good enough. Especially Palace at home. I think we still have Pogba for that one. Yeah. But there was there were mitigating circumstances, and you could see we are a team in transition.
And big teams always lose to worse teams than them every season. Like Liverpool did it last season. City got battered by Norwich. Remember that? 3-0, was it?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no matter what, City should be beating a team that gets relegated. Well, most of the time they would, but it doesn't work like that. You don't just beat every team below you and then lose to every team above you.
It's not how it works. It's not how it works. Guys, get involved in the comments. Don't forget to hit like as well. Chloe Abbott says, it's not Ollie's fault. #Glazers out. #Woodward out. Get that. Adams Tyler saying, let's pay any price for Sancho because he's a game changer. Doug Shields says, scenes if we don't sign anyone before the window slams.
There will be some absolute scenes.
That's a safe bet, that, Doug. Yeah. That's like, no matter what you write.
Twitter will be absolutely abhorrent. Abhorrent, I tell you.
Are you getting involved in that, or are you just coming off it for a bit? Will it be that much that you're angry anyway we haven't signed anyone, and you go on Twitter and you just see the absolute...
And it's just... The amount of things that are trending. Maguire's trending, Pogba's trending, Glazers out's trending, Woodward out's trending, Ole out trending, Ole in's trending. Because people are going, can't believe you're saying that, Ole in.
Someone's saying, did we start a GoFundMe to get Sancho? Right, I want to touch on this. We didn't. Someone did. Probably as a joke. I'm presuming.
Probably a Liverpool fan doing it as a joke, because they already had a GoFundMe page.
It's got a bit of press, and I think it was up to about 75 quid at one point, which I don't know if that's people genuinely thinking they're putting money. But I remember when Full-Time Devils first started, there was a Bring Ronaldo Home campaign. Full-Time Devils nothing to do with it, by the way. Where this guy, I remember they were interviewing him, he'd started this Bring Ronaldo Home campaign, and the idea was, I think you bought a shirt, you donated 40 quid, and you got a shirt, so it wasn't just money, you got like something in return, and all the money went towards bringing Ronaldo home. But it seemed very dodgy.
Oh, it didn't work?
It didn't work.
So what you're saying is a campaign to get a transfer fee for Ronaldo, half of which is spent on T-shirts, and also, of course, doesn't go to getting Ronaldo back, because that's what you're trying to do there is buy a human being, which is completely legal.
Also, what this is where my journalism came in as well.
Go on, lad.
He had the World Wildlife Fund and Save the Children on the website. So I contacted them and said, have you got any affiliation with this? And they both said, no, we don't know what he's talking about.
Brilliant.
We're going to ask him to remove it. So that was when I was like, actually, mate.
This is absolute
bull
bunkum.
As they say. So, yeah, I mean, in answer to your question, we're not, someone is, and it's probably a joke.
It was me that put that 75 quid in though, Jay, I'll be honest with you.
We both know you.
It was birthday money.
75 quid.
It was birthday money. Thanks,
Listen,
Grandma.
your nana's not been sending you a £5 every year for the last...
Go on, you can do the maths.
I can do this.
Go on.
15.
Hold on.
Gets in.
Hold on, Jay.
Jay doesn't want Ronaldo back. What a spoil sport. Listen, I would walk over broken glass barefoot to see Cristiano Ronaldo playing for Manchester United again, but I don't think it's ever
I'd walk over broken glass with shoes on to do it. Easy. Did it on the way here.
Yeah, there's a little nod to you there. This show needs more seagulls. I'm taking that's something to do with your nonsense.
Yeah, it's Late Night Live on Friday nights.
That will be on Friday, and you will have plenty of seagulls.
Absolutely.
Probably. Should we move on to outgoings?
Yeah, let's talk a bit about, speaking of outgoing, Chris Smalling's a very outgoing guy.
He's a very outgoing guy. Vegan, don't you know?
He is, and he's going to be maybe moving on. Last night, so let's catch up then. Catch me up, Jay, because last night I was stood here, and you said to me, Roma doesn't want Chris Smalling anymore because United have dawdled too long. They've asked for too much money from him. Yeah. And then it seemed as though he was probably going to stay at United. But in the last 24 hours...
Our saviours have come back again.
Our saviour says...
Inter Milan, who just love a Manchester United player.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do without Inter. There's reports coming from Calcio Mercato that Inter Milan are interested in Chris Smalling and are entering forcefully.
Don't say that again.
That's the translation.
That's their words, not ours.
I'm better than that. I wouldn't ever stoop solo to innuendo. Inter are ready to offer one of... I'll let you read these names out.
Jean Mario, Ivan Perisic, or Marcelo Brozovic.
United continue to demand €20 million.
So let me get this straight, Jay. Chris Smalling has been entered forcefully by Inter Milan. There's no denying that.
You can't deny it.
You can see that. We can see that wherever you go online, type in Chris Smalling entered forcefully.
Yeah.
You'll see that. But it looks as though they want to do a swap deal for one of these players, which I like. I like this. Like, I reckon they're like CEOs who've got his hands behind his back with a picture of each one of them. All right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down Perisic on one. I'm going to write down Brozovic.
It's like Brendan Rodgers with the envelopes.
I'm shuffling by my hat.
Put your names in his envelope. 3 names. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of them's got Ivan's name in it.
I think he's done that. He's like that. Right, okay. You're like, okay, we don't want Jan Marriott. Okay, just pick one. Oh, they're both in this hand. Unlucky. We get Chris Smalling for free. That was the empty hand. It was a trick one. They were both in the right hand. Out of these players, then, I personally like the idea of Marcelo Brozovic.
Marcelo Brozovic.
We have been running a poll on our Facebook, if any of you have been over there. Hopefully we'll be able to get the results of that brought up soon. But Marcelo Brozovic was a key part of that Croatia squad that got to the World Cup final in 2018. Seems to have been around for ages. And yet he's only 27.
27, and you're right, he has been around a long time. Played a lot of games as well. I mean, he played 32 games last season for him in the league, in Serie A. So it's not like, he's completely surplus to requirements. We did a poll on Facebook. Out of these, United have been linked with a swap deal for Chris Smalling. Who out of these, obviously the 3 players we mentioned, would you want? And it's Perisic, who's leading with 69%.
One of the sexiest percents. There's no denying that. Brozovic on 19% and João Mario on 13%. 13 people when, remember that bloke who played for West Ham who was no good for them?
13% he did score a good goal against Southampton.
Yeah, he did. Once. No, in fairness, he did.
But yeah, I mean,
Perisic makes sense as well because he would be a like-for-like alternative to Sancho.
Would João Mario be completely useless to Manchester United Football Club?
I think so. He's a midfielder with a sort of a bit of an attacking flair to him.
Does he get anywhere near our team at any point?
No, I don't think he's as good as Jesse Lingard.
Right,
personally.
okay. Right, so that's...
I would rule him out. But Perisic makes a bit of sense. We've followed him for a while. Obviously, Jose Mourinho wanted him when he was at Manchester United. He's a very industrious player, good work rate, great cross of the ball. Won the Champions League with Bayern Munich last season. So I wonder if they'll have anything to say about where he goes this summer.
I don't think they're... I think they're like... Because he was on loan there, wasn't he?
He played, though.
Yeah, no, he did. I think they're... Because they've got Sane and...
Yeah, that's true.
Coleman,
They have just brought Sane in, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the sort of the feelings they don't need him.
But for me, Marcelo Brozovic is a very an interesting option because whilst I actually think in that mould, that industrious, hard-working central midfielder with a good, gas tank, we've actually got quite a few. I think McTominay fits that bill. I think Fred does to a certain extent. I think Van der Beek does to a certain extent. Midfield depth, I think the single position that maybe is the most important, I think, is the midfield. If you've got very good depth in midfield, obviously you need a goal scorer, you need to not concede 70 goals a year. But we've seen with the way Everton have turned around in the last, looking at them this season, a new midfield can completely change a team. And I think Brozovic, with his work rate, with his aggression and sort of tenacity on the ball, I think he could be a decent signing. I mean, obviously, he's a bit more of a left field option to Perisic. We've got some live chat here from Facebook. Get your comments in on Facebook or on YouTube, we'll read them out. Jay Holmes says, definitely Brozovic. Periscope isn't need. I'm full of confidence. We get Sancho. So Perisic, I think that was an autocorrect from Perisic.
Yeah,
we're calling Periscope from now on.
Periscope.
We're raising the Periscope, the transfer Periscope, and we're looking out at C. Periscope isn't needed, but I'm full of confidence. We get Sancho, so Periscope is not needed. Brozovic is a big, strong player. Get that done. Interesting. He's Jay there, not you, is confident that we're going to be getting Sancho done, so we don't even need Periscope.
Steve Little says Perisic is a workhorse, but not the quality and age of player we need. Age thing. Again, though, does this? We spoke about this last night with Bale. Does this not fall into the idea of it could be? I know the two aren't necessarily related, but if we don't get Sancho, is this the type of player that can be a stopgap?
Maybe, yeah. And for me, it makes so much more sense as a stopgap. A player that's known for his work rate and for his engine and how much he gives to the team sort of on the field, whereas Gareth Bale is known for all of the opposite things to that, and he's on probably 3 times more a week in wages. So Perisic, if you have to do a stopgap, maybe a 2-year signing, a 2-year contract for him, and then you get Sancho in next summer as well. It's just weird. That makes a lot more sense.
Because it's another player that perhaps we should have got a few years ago that would have made a lot of sense. Like we were talking about, even Thiago Alcantara, we could have had him 7.5 years ago. You look at Gareth Bale, we were linked with him, 7 years ago? And now you've got Perisic, who we were linked with, as you mentioned.
Oh, what a great time for rumours it was, Jay, 2013.
That was a golden era, wasn't it? Was Snyder still a rumour then?
He was waning slightly, but he was still knocking about, yeah.
That's what I mean, and it was like, so you had all these players that were linked with it, and now we're still being linked with him, but the problem is, they're pretty much all past the best. Someone there saying, Space Tracers, bring back Obertan, and the Portuguese homeless bloke, Bebe.
Yep.
Never say never. Do you remember when that was a great time to be alive, wasn't it, when we
signed Bebe?
When we let Ronaldo, we sold Ronaldo, Severs left, and we brought in Obertan, Michael Owen, and Antonio Valencia. Twitter was around then, but it wasn't quite what it wasn't now. Quite. Can you imagine how that would have gone down?
Yeah, that would have been particularly terrible, wasn't it? Did you know how bottles work, didn't you? You got to open. If there isn't a hole, then the water don't move. Twitter would have kicked off. Although everyone would have been tweeting about, here's some stats on Obertan, here's some heat maps on Obertan last season. He's actually a top player. That's what everyone would have been saying.
Do you know what though? I remember watching Obertan on YouTube. Oh, that's what we're on now. Yeah, the internet.
What do you call it?
What do you call it? That box in your house that glows. And he looked mint on YouTube, and I remember thinking, we've got a player here, but unfortunately he wasn't. Just a few little updates as well, doing the rounds on social media. Edwin van der Sar compares Donny van der Beek to Paul Scholes.
Okay. It's a lot to live up to, isn't it? What did he actually say? Do you know? Or is it just?
I can find out.
Because in terms of maybe the types of things he does on a football pitch, you could maybe compare him, but surely he's not comparing the quality of the two.
In an interview with MUTV, he says he can play in different positions in midfield. He can be a 6, an 8 or a 10. He has a great eye for goal. His technique is brilliant. He can go box to box. I'd compare him a little bit to Solskjaer. Although Solskjaer had a cracker of a shot from 30 to 40 yards out, and that's not Donny's strength, but he likes to come into the box and chip in with goals. Maybe it's unfair to compare him to Solskjaer, actually, but he's a good lad, just a bit.
Oh, redacted then. If that was a CIA document, there'd been a big black line through the first portion.
I'm not saying he's as good as Ronaldo, but...
Actually, you know what? That was wrong. Yeah. I'm an idiot. What have I said?
I shouldn't have said that. Take that all back.
Ross Murphy, $4.99 super chat. Thank you for that. He said, we got Obertan, Michael and Valencia and still got to a Champions League final. Fergie was a genouille. I believe that's pronounced as it's a French word there.
We did. I think that was a year later, but you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. We did. Yeah, we did. So, I mean, Fergie was a genius. But the thing with that is, we still had a core of very
we
good
got to the
players.
Champions League final in 2009, didn't we? Because we could have been the first team to win it 2 years in a row. It was 8, 9, 11.
Yeah, but we still had Ronaldo and Tevez in the 2009 final.
Great point.
We had 2011 when we had Berbatov, who didn't even make the squad.
Insane.
Which I'm still angry about.
Do you think he would have done it? Anyway, let's not worry about that.
Well, the thing is, right, let's worry about it.
All right.
It bothers me.
Okay.
Right? I mean, I didn't get a ticket for that game, and I went down to Wembley and I was just going to try and jib in. But I didn't. My mate was at the Ministry of Sound, and he was like, "Come watch it here with us." So I was like, "All right then." So, and then I got it because another mate actually managed to jib in. Anyway, so I went to Ministry of Sound, and there was a rumour going around just before the game that Fergie was going to do something a little bit left field, and the rumour was that actually Berbatov was going to start, and it transpired he wasn't even in the squad. And we started with Chicharito and Rooney up front. So yeah, it was a bit disappointing, but. Van der Beek, how excited are you looking forward to seeing him? Because
I'm very
we saw him against Villa, didn't we, briefly?
Oh, what a game that was.
Not briefly, but you
do you want to know something about that game, the pre-season match against Villa, obviously? All day, that game was played at like 3 o'clock. All day, I avoided the score of that because I knew it was being broadcast at 10 p.m. The one thing I saw in the work group chat, Dom put Villa already beating United. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to see any more. Right, so I know it's 1-0. I know it's 1-0 to Villa, but other than that, I don't know. And then I watched it, and it just stayed 1-0 for the whole game. I was like, not only did I know that we were 1-0 down, nothing else happened. So I was fuming at that game.
But I tried to, I watched it. I tried to watch it, but it was on 10 at night, and I was knackered, and there wasn't a lot going on.
It was also fucking unbearable, wasn't it? It was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life.
Someone's saying here, to think we haven't replaced Nani after all these years is crazy. Valencia wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's Nani we haven't replaced.
I mean, I liked Nani, but I think there's a lot of rose-tinted glasses with Nani.
He's irreplaceable.
Yeah, that's when it all went wrong, when we didn't replace Nani. Very good player, very inconsistent though, but one of those players that when he was on form was absolutely
And if
amazing.
you want to watch a highlights package, he's right up there. He's one of those players that if you want to, you can do a 1-minute 30 Twitter video and it'll say, the streets will remember. Yeah. And then it's a video of Nani and you're like, he was the best player in the world.
You could do that with Nani, just against Arsenal.
The streets will remember.
Yeah, because his games against Arsenal, when he was doing tricks and running down the wing with bouncing the ball on his head.
Chipping the ball over, back to the back post, running around like that. Yeah, all of that. He looked incredible. But if you remember him at the time, he was amazing for one game, terrible the next, or amazing for one 10-minute spell, and then terrible the next.
I remember when we played Real Madrid in the Champions League. He got sent off in the end, but worst decision I've ever seen. We got a corner and the crowd was up for it, and he was like out to the crowd, like, come on, come on, right? And he went and took this corner, right? And it was the worst corner I've ever seen in my life. He literally hit the first Real Madrid defender. It wasn't even that hard. So it's basically a pass to the Real Madrid defender, who then counter-attacked and they almost scored. I thought, that was Nani. Come on, guys. Come on. And then it was the worst corner I've ever seen. Loved the somersault every time he scored a goal. Yes,
Fergie didn't like that, did he? Apparently.
No, didn't try and ban it. But,
and he was like, it's my catchphrase. It's like a physical catchphrase.
Guys, as well, don't forget to get involved in the comments. Do hit like. And if you're not doing, make sure you subscribe as well.
Please.
Someone's saying there, what's he saying there, Gary Ernstein? Brozovic is a CDM we're looking for. It's almost too good to be true if that's an option.
Yeah, he plays, from what I saw of him in the World Cup and what I've heard and read in the last few hours since this link has been sort of established, he plays deeper. I don't know if he's quite as physical as someone like Matic. He doesn't have the size that Matic does. He's not quite as big as Matic. And I don't think he's quite as busy as Kante either. But he's sort of a hybrid of the two, maybe, where he's a bit of a tackler, but he's got a great engine as well. He can just keep running all day. Like all of that Croatia team did, almost to a suspicious level, the amount of ground they were covering in that World Cup.
Do you think that's still an issue for us? Andy Parker was saying Jay should have his own podcast that's not football related. I have. It's called the Scotty and Motty podcast. There's a link in the chat.
Who's Jay Parker? Is he one of
Andy
your mates
Parker
from
was
school?
saying it, sorry.
Andy Parker,
I think
sorry.
He was, yeah.
One of your mates from school that you told
a bit of non-footballing chat there, Scotty and Motty.
I'll get to the bottom of this.
Do you think how much of an issue like that because we seem to have these players, other than like that are all flawed in that position. Matic is good, but his legs are going a little bit. I know he's not past it, but you can't play week in, week out. He's 31. Fred isn't a CDM.
No.
McTominay, I'd argue, isn't a CDM. Either.
No.
I think he's just
they're
got
both
loads
number
of
8s.
energy. Van der Beek isn't. I know we've just had Edwin van der Sar saying he can play as a 6, can play as a 10, he can play as an 8, but he ain't really a CDM.
No.
Is that a thing where you think
it's a concern for me? Yeah, definitely.
We need someone there because
we need a player to replace Matic. We saw last season, before Matic was in form, and when Matic was replaced in the squad for a few of the games toward the end of the season, that we struggled to keep the ball. He's so good at picking the ball up, sweeping up, misplaced passes out from defence and tackles as well, that when he's not playing, we do struggle to keep the ball and rotate the ball and have someone on there who just doesn't give the ball away. Paul Pogba's good in that position, but he's a bit more of an expansive player from that position, so he gives the ball away more, which is okay, as long as it's not on his own 18-yard box like he did do a couple of times. But Matic is great because he just rotates the ball, wins it back, and never loses it. And, occasionally, of course, he loses it, but his job is to not lose it, and he's good at that. We don't really have anyone else who can do that. Fred gives the ball away too much. Scott McTominay and Fred, I don't think, have the positioning to play in that position. So I am a little bit surprised we're not targeting someone in that position. I do think that a number 10 or a number 8 in Van der Beek who can get goals was more essential, because as much as, defensive assuredness is key, scoring goals is the thing that gets the fans off your back, isn't it? If you win 3-2, that's better than winning 1-0 a lot of times. So I think it was important to give Bruno a potential option in resting him with Van der Beek. But I'm a little bit surprised we don't have a number 6 in our sites, because Partey seems to be available and a few others around Europe. Kante was even mentioned as being available as well, so I'm a little bit shocked.
Yeah, well, we had it on, I think one of our first shows on doing this was there was a Kante link, and it seemed like it was more just paper talk, if you will, rather than real interest or real possibility of him coming in. I think he played the other day, didn't he? What are you laughing at?
The best form of offence is defence, which is the sentence you hear said around 1,000 times when you watch the NFL. Or defence wins championships. That's another one that people say. And English people have started saying that about football now, which I don't think is true. Carry on.
Steve Nichols says, OK, just seen the title. So is Ole talking to Sancho, or are you just blowing smoke? Reports are that Ole is having conversations with Jadon Sancho, letting him know that he wants him. He's keen on him. Sancho, reportedly, has always been keen on a move to Manchester United. We know, obviously, he knows Manchester, he's at City. He's English. That counts for anything. Wants to come back to England, play for Manchester.
Is it?
No, I'm not going to get all Brexit, but he's someone because in the past you've had players, haven't we? We've had players like Di Maria, fantastic footballer, amazing at Real Madrid.
Wasn't even that bad for United.
First couple of months he was great.
Yeah.
Comes to United, and it isn't just United. Di Maria is a great example because it was Manchester. It was the climate.
Yeah, because people always say
the atmosphere.
Yeah,
whatever.
Whenever this gets brought up, there's always people say, "Oh, why does it matter?" Well, because occasionally, and most of the time, it doesn't matter. People come from other countries, hotter climates all the time to England and are fine. But occasionally, after a player's left, their girlfriend, in Di Maria's case, came. I hated Manchester. It's a shithole. The weather's awful. Everyone's ugly. Everyone's fat, and they smell like curly fries. Like that's essentially what she said. So sometimes that happens, and you don't usually see Gareth Barry's girlfriend saying that, or someone who is English who knows the culture and the climate here. No. And again, it's not that no foreign players can play in England. Of course that isn't the case.
No.
But with him being English, you eliminate that possibility at all of someone coming out and saying, Manchester's a shithole, isn't it? Because he knows Manchester. He knows it's a shithole.
Tevez said something similar as well. Like he said,
Tevez did it.
Yeah, he went, there's only 2 restaurants in Manchester or something. There's only 1 restaurant, and it's proper shit.
Piss off then.
It's like,
you hate it so much.
It must have been
off.
such a drama for you getting paid loads of money to play for both clubs, you know what I mean, and going on holiday for 6 months while you're doing it. So yeah, it doesn't matter. We saw it with Memphis Depay, didn't we? Yeah. He came here, a lot of tabloid sort of attention on him. Didn't really work out. Obviously, we spoke about him earlier. Could end up going to Barcelona. Be interesting to see whether he does.
I can't believe that deal's happening. To me, whenever I've watched him play, even for Leon, he just looks like the same lad who we saw at United, where the ball bounces off him most of the time. He hasn't got a great touch. He's got a really good shot when he gets in front of goal, but he doesn't seem to have that final sort of
players who
cleverness.
Shine a little bit in the Champions League. And even at United, he scored a couple in the qualifiers, didn't he? Remember?
And there was one game in the Europa League where he just destroyed that right wing. I can't remember who he was against, but
in Europe, I think he steps up to the occasion. He's played some good games for Leon in Europe. So I don't know, that sometimes catches the eye, doesn't it, of a club that's looking at him. He is a sort of an entertaining player when he's on fire. It's just, he's into his Instagram stuff and he's making his videos. Don't have a problem with that at all. It's just
JM Souness over here.
I don't care.
Just concentrate on the pitch. Throw your phone in the bin.
I genuinely don't give a shit if players doing stuff on Instagram. It's not, it's to me, when I was growing up, players went out and drank 12 pints after the game. So it's not.
That was when they were real men, Jay.
Then they went down
real men. Now they're all unprofessional, going on their phones at home.
Phones, texting, texting.
Sitting at home with their families, going on their phones, unprofessional. You should be in the pub 40 hours a week.
One of them wrapping a pool cue around someone's head. I know. In a working men's club.
Yeah, exactly. Back to this poll that we've been doing. United have been linked with a swap deal for Chris Smalling and rumoured to be offered either João Mario, Ivan Perisic and Marcelo Brozovic. We've asked you at home who you would like out of those three, and still running a cool 69% is Ivan Perisic ahead there of Brozovic with 19% and João Mario with 13%. That's who the United fans seem to want. Again, Perisic being picked first on that list suggests to me that 69% of at least our audience believe that the Sancho deal isn't happening, because I don't think we would be getting Perisic and Sancho this summer.
Guys, get involved in the comments. Let us know whether you do think the Sancho deal is happening. Is it time to sort of accept defeat? Because we hear these noises. The sort of the possibilities are getting smaller and smaller. Ollie's on the phone to him. He's keen to come. I mean, yeah, that's all well and good, but we're still not getting to a point where we're giving him the money that they want. So, do you think it's time to look at someone or that? Someone else says, Jay looks like he smells of curly fries. Joe looks like he smells of marzipan.
True and true. I use an almond essence as a deodorant.
Funky ass designs. Are you here? How do you know that? That's so accurate.
He reeks of them. He cooks them in the microwave, so they're all soft and soggy. Don't you?
Every time I walk in, who's got that marzipan out again? Oh, it's actually Joe's.
He calls them his tatty pig's tails because they're all curled up, don't they? Where's me tatty pig's tails? He gets all upset if someone nicks them. Perisic would be great. He is class and free. Like Oxygen as well, famously.
Yeah. Because Oxygen is class, innit? I often think that when I wake up in the morning.
Jay.
I can't believe this is all free.
Can you believe it? Drinking in, lads.
I had some mint Oxygen the other night.
It was so good. Nitrogen's underrated. Doing 80% of the legwork for air. Carry on. Joe probably smells like cloves and frankincense. Get out of town.
I'm glad that we're taking these comments seriously when I asked about Jadon Sancho and people started telling us, bit God.
What's he said there? Jay smells of Pepsi Max Cherry, obviously.
Yes. And Pepsi Max Cherry,
it's an addiction. We try not to talk about it.
We are available for product placement. We have a backup for Sancho in Greenwood.
That's a good point.
Do you have any concerns at all?
About what, Greenwood?
Yeah.
Or about Sancho?
About if we got Sancho, that it would affect Mason Greenwood.
No, I don't, because he's already playing in a position that isn't his main position by playing on the right wing.
He is.
He's a striker. He's always been a striker. He's played number 10 as well, I think, at youth level briefly, or he can play in that role a little bit. He's already playing in a less than ideal position, and he scored 17 goals from that position. So, we bring someone else in who is a right winger. Let's not forget that Jadon Sancho is a right winger. That will only give Greenwood, he can still be a backup to Sancho, he can still be a backup to Martial, he can still be a backup to Rashford on the left, he can still be a backup to Bruno at the 10. We're going to be playing enough games next season and enough high-level teams in the Champions League and things like that where he's going to get a lot of games. And we know how good he is, and if he's really good, he'll replace Sancho if he has to. Or he can replace Martial, he can replace Rashford. Any of these players are movable in that position, and if Greenwood's as good as he seems like he's going to be, I think he will be given still enough opportunities to reach his full potential, even with Sancho in that team. What do you think?
Yeah, 100% agree. We both do come from a place where Manchester United have always had competition for places. Mm-hmm. You've always had 3 or 4 top quality players vying for 2 or 3 places. You know. You look at it going back to sort of the days when obviously 99 Ollie said he coming off the bench. when we had, even when we had the likes of Rooney, Tevez, and Ronaldo, he mixed up. Tevez didn't always start in those games. A lot of the time he was coming off the bench, or we'd mix it up. Park would come in or whatever. There'd be a bit of a change, and it was an issue when Marcus was breaking through. We had striking options. You had Martial. I think we brought in Zlatan as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like.
And then Lukaku as well.
And I don't see Marcus Rashford sort of not making a go of it. He's obviously been a shining star for United on and off the pitch, I hasten to add. So you should have competitions. You should have more than just one person in each position who's top draw. And I think Jadon Sancho, he comes in, he fits into that mould. Yes, he's more of a right winger, but he can mix it up a bit. And he's not just there. So I'm with you, mate.
Because also, the other side of the coin is, you see people saying, is Mason Greenwood being burnt out? Is he playing too many games? He's only 18 years old. I think he turns 19 in November. Is he being played too many matches if we don't sign Sancho? And the expectation is that Greenwood is our first choice right winger. What, is he going to play 50 matches next season? I think that's too many for someone his age.
No, I agree.
I think we need not just a replacement or someone that's going to step in front of Greenwood, but someone that can allow him to have a few games off, because he's so young, and I don't think it's fair on him for him to be, you're the first choice right winger for Manchester United.
No, I agree. Guys, don't forget as well to get involved in the comments and hit like. Give us a like and a subscribe if you're not subscribing already. Over on Facebook, Luke Taylor says, what the hell is going on with this club? We've made one signing. Chelsea finished below us and are making top quality signings. It needs to change. It's just circles. We get our hopes up, then we get new manager who gets backed, and we make signings and the same happens. It's a joke. Do you feel a bit like this is a cycle that we've been in and we're going into this cycle again, or are we getting a bit carried away? I think, in terms of panicking?
I think we're getting a bit carried away.
Yep.
Which is the way of football fans generally. I don't think you can be annoyed at us for doing that. I think everyone does that. I do believe that, or I do hope that
I believe there's children in the future.
I believe that as well. Also the past, because when adults used to be children. So children are the past.
And the future. And the
quite
president
literally.
as well.
Yeah. And the president. There's one. Satire. Right. I think it's very obvious from a lot of Manchester United fans, and what I'm seeing on Twitter and what I'm seeing from who I speak to in real life, is we all see this coming now.
Yeah.
The first time around with Jose, we saw this trend, or the first time with Van Gaal, we saw a similar thing where you don't necessarily get back that third season because the owners know that you're on thin ice and Jose is waiting in the wings. We saw the same thing with Jose. He didn't get back properly. He didn't get Maguire. He didn't get Perisic. A lot of players who maybe you wouldn't have wanted anyway. Maybe players that you wouldn't have wanted anyway. We didn't get them, but that's who Jose wanted.
Yeah.
And then he got sacked the following season after throwing his toys out the pram. We're now seeing it again, and us as United fans see it from a mile off. We see what's happening. The manager's overachieved, so therefore you're not getting backed because Champions League is really all we wanted anyway. We don't want to take that big step and that big financial risk to push to win the title. We're happy just to stew around fourth and hopefully not lose 25% of our Adidas revenue. I think, though, hopefully the club can see that we know what you're doing and you're not going to get away with it this time.
Well, yeah, we saw it yesterday. There was a lot of outrage. All sort of stuff that was coming out of Swiss Ramble and other places where it's talking about how much or how little the owners have invested. I think we've invested the least out of any Premier League club over the last 5 years, which is pretty disgraceful. Eagle have met heavy metal. What's this 43-year-old quarterback? This is what you were chatting about the other day.
Yeah, the same owners who own Manchester United, obviously the Glazers, own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they paid $50 million for 2 years of Tom Brady. So they've got money.
Right. Also, someone keeps asking about Eduardo Camavinga. Is that have I said that right?
Yeah.
This is the kid from Rennes, however you say it. Looks like a good player, but I mean, I don't know if we're going to be making a bid for him and trying to get him from Rennes. Not heard anything about that. And whilst I would always welcome seeing a talented teenager come to the club, I think we need, at the minute, players that are ready to come straight into the first team or at least challenge for a first team place. Don't know who he is, don't know a lot about him. People in the comments are saying he's really good. Someone else saying he's got to Real Madrid. So
Nick M there saying that Ed Woodward has no idea who Camavinga is. He's on the beach. Man's on the beach with a cocktail in hand. May well be the case.
That's true. Do you remember when Ed Woodward left Australia to go and take care of some urgent transfer business? That was like 6.5 years ago. And we've
still not happened.
Yeah,
we're
still waiting to find out what he literally said. I've got to go and sort out some urgent
Gotta
transfer
go, guys.
Yeah, and like,
Whoa.
6.5 years later, we're still waiting for that, whatever that transfer.
It was urgent, Jay. On a galactic, universal scale, if you take into account the age of the universe, it still could be urgent.
Ewan Watson says, greetings from Edinburgh. You guys are legends.
Thank you, Ewan.
So are you. Is Sancho that good? Says Keels. Only ever seen him for England, and he hasn't been convincing.
Right. Let's talk about this.
I want you to.
I'm not going to knock Jadon Sancho. I don't know enough about him. What I would say, for me, watching him for England, there has been something in the back of my mind where I've gone, we're so there's such an uproar about this deal. We're so invested in this being another example of United's failings.
Yeah.
Are we overlooking the fact that, for me, again, obviously his stats for Dortmund are insane.
Right.
For England,
this is
he's
the bit where
not been that good.
After the bit where you said his stats
you can look at his stats for England.
I get it. I'm just letting you know. This is the bit that's getting clipped up now. Just so you're aware, because that's how the world works and the internet works.
Are we blinding ourselves to the idea that he might not be worth 120 million? That's not necessarily my opinion.
But that's
funny
if he actually came.
Imagine it was shit. He just turns up 2 goals, 1 assist. Oh, shit.
We literally spent a whole summer getting outraised. We get him and he's all right.
Yeah.
He's just not
That'd
that
be funny, wouldn't it?
He's not that good. He's like, Dan James levels.
But if we're going into just turbo,
I'm not saying
we need to sign this player no matter what. And we're certain he's good, aren't we? Is he? You can never be certain. I don't know what to say.
I'm scared now. You've scared me. I think he's very good. I think he's a very talented.
Yeah, of course.
Lad. I think he'll shine at Manchester United. He's got something about him that says.
You think he's watching or what? Off a dig.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. We both really want him.
I think he'll shine. I think he's tailor-made. We need someone with that bit of swagger.
Yes.
And I think he has that as well. And I think we need, look at our team now. What I like is, remember the old days when we used to watch Manchester United, the good old days when it was 3 and 6 to get in, and you could bring your whippet with you. But you'd have teams will be scared of like 4 or 5 players. You'd have 4 or 5 match winners, and we're almost at that level now. You think about it. When you play a team, they must look at you and go, right, Bruno, you got to keep your eye on him. Pogba, he can.
So we saw the thing with Jose Mourinho at the
documentary.
The documentary where he was saying Pogba can make a pass from here, and you've got to watch here because he can cover the whole pitch with his passing range. So people are definitely scared of Pogba.
It's like Jose knew that Paul Pogba was a really good midfielder.
Yeah, despite saying how shit he was and not playing.
It's like Jose Mourinho sort of sabotaged everything, burnt the village on his way out. You know what?
You were saying, so currently we've got Bruno, we've got Pogba.
We've got Bruno, you've got Pogba. Oh, time's nearly up as well, so we'll start wrapping up because Cameron needs to go home to bed. We've got Bruno, you've got Pogba, you've got Martial, you've got Marcus Rashford.
And even Greenwood is someone who you can't let come 100%. Inside on that left foot.
So we've got all these match winners, and did any of you throw in a Jadon Sancho as well?
Yeah.
That's another match winner there. That's another one where you go, you got to keep around it, even if you're bringing him off the bench.
And you compare that to 6 months ago, some of the team we were playing, where you got Matic, or you got Fred, McTominay, Lingard, Fred, McTominay, Pereira. None of them, they're good players, but you're not thinking shit. On the right side, you've got Dan James. You're not thinking shit. Martial was injured. He's not playing. You've got Rashford. Okay. Mark Rashford out of the game will be all right.
Mate,
the difference is startling.
So weird, isn't it? Because you're right. You go back to that sort of, I think was it the Burnley game we keep going on about where Rashford was injured. Martial, I just think he'd just been come back from injury. I think he was a bit out of sorts, so I might be getting that mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that was what it was. And we just looked like we had no options, didn't we? We're just like, we're so overly reliant on 1 or 2 players, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. And now we're a lot better, but we're not where we want to be. No. We want to be there with Jadon in number 7. Yeah. Jadon, my mate, that's what I call him.
If he turns, it's going to be so good if he does sign, isn't it? Just seeing him with the scarf.
I think we'll have If he signs in the morning, I give it. By the afternoon, people are kicking off about the lack of other signings.
Do you think?
I think you get 2 hours on Twitter of Jadon
would have preferred Bale,
and then you'll get, we still need a defender. I can't believe we've not bought a left back. What's Reguilon tear it up for Spurs now? But listen, we need Jadon Sancho. All the news is, as we said, we'll just quickly go over it before we finish. Ollie's been on the phone to Jadon saying, "You're right, kid. Don't worry about it. I got you."
Don't worry about those nasty German blokes. We'll sort them out and we'll get you a transfer.
Exactly. That's pretty much verbatim what he said. So he's been talking to Jadon Sancho. The deal's not dead. It's just, we spoke to Christian Falk. He says that every day it goes by, it gets less and less likely it's going to happen. He also said that Thiago Alcantara, Liverpool remain favourites, but if they don't sell Wijnaldum, they might not have the money, bizarrely, to buy Alcantara. And United, are in with a shout, getting him. The interest is there, and he's willing to come there. So there is that. And also, Smalling could be going to Inter, who've offered us João Mario, or Marcelo Brozovic, or even Perisic as a swap deal option. So they're being weighed up as a swap deal for Chris Smalling. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. So Sancho still maybe happening. Smalling still at Manchester United. Thiago Alcantara still at Bayern Munich.
What you're saying is, Jay, there's plenty more transfer news to come, isn't there?
There is. Starting tomorrow morning, when we'll have the paper talk outside Old Trafford at 10:30. We'll give you all the updates, all the latest news there. I think it's Casey who's on it tomorrow, so we'll have all his stats and figures. He loves a stat, that lad.
He loves a stat.
He does.
Stat attack.
He's one of those.
He has stats for breakfast, that guy.
He does. He's just like, he watches loads of football as well. What a weirdo. And we'll also have, what else have we got coming up? I can't remember.
We've got this show again tomorrow night.
That's it. Oh yeah, that's it. Got this show again tomorrow night, and then on Friday we'll have the preview. We're looking towards the Crystal Palace game.
Games are happening soon.
Games are happening. Joe's got quite a bit of stuff going on. Is it top secret?
Yeah, loads of top secret stuff going on Friday. Maybe a chance for some of you lot to get involved at home, but we're letting you know exactly what's going on with that on Twitter, on Facebook. We'll make sure everyone's in the loop, of course, but we can't say anything yet, just yet.
It's like,
And then there's Late Night Live at 10 p.m. on Friday as well.
And there will be Seagulls involved. That's been Joe Smith. I've been Jay. This has been Stretford Paddock Transfers Live. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.